Good morning, Toronto. Welcome to your favorite daytime talk show. This is the Vanshica Rastogi show, and I'm your host, Vanshica. Today, in support of HIV Awareness Week, we have a special guest, Ibrahim. Ibrahim is HIV positive and is here to share his experience with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here today. Can you explain what life is like with HIV?
I'm fine now. Remember initially I had a set of symptoms like muscle aches, fever, night sweats, and I had this lump going that was behind my ear, which is why I went to go see a doctor and where I found out I was HIV positive.
We have an expert in the room, Dr. Nat, who will be explaining more about HIV. Can you explain some of Ibrahim's symptoms?
Well, firstly, to start off, there's various phases to the HIV virus, and each phase has its own set of symptoms. So you mentioned you had a lump behind your ear. That's actually where the lymph nodes are located, and this is where B and T cells, which are white blood cells, part of the immune system that help to fight off infections, go to become activated. And as your infection progresses, you need more of these cells, so more cells rush to that area, which causes an increase in pressure and swelling.
Okay, so this is going on in my body for weeks, and then it suddenly stopped. How do you explain that?
Well, the reason it stopped is because currently the virus is in what's known as the latency phase, and in this phase, the virus is just making more copies of itself. But while this is happening, your CD4 cells, or T helper cells, which are just more cells that help to fight off the infection, the numbers in your body are slowly decreasing, while at the same time, the amount of HIV particles in your body are increasing. And this is when most people seek out treatment to try to prevent this from happening.
For the people who are like me and have HIV, what are the types of treatments that you can get?
Well, the main treatment most people seek out is called antiretroviral treatment, or ART for short. And all this treatment does is it helps to prevent those HIV particle numbers from going too high.
And how does that process work?
Well, what happens is you take a combination of drugs, and those drugs work together to prevent the virus from making any more copies of itself. And in doing so, it keeps the amount of HIV particles in your body at a low enough amount that it can't be detected anymore. And this also prevents the chance of you passing it on to anybody else.
That's amazing. Can this be a cure?
Unfortunately, there is no cure for this because you can never rid your body completely of the virus because there's always a stable amount of dormant HIV living within your immune cells.
Okay, what would happen if I were to stop taking my treatments?
Well, firstly, if you were to stop taking your treatment, the virus would just rebound and the numbers would start to increase again. And your T cell count when it would fall below about 200 cells per cubic milliliter of blood, this is when the virus would progress to what's known as AIDS.
Okay, but that's something that really bothers me. People just don't know the difference between HIV and AIDS. Can you share to people what the differences are, and can you contract AIDS? Because people try to say, hey, I don't want to get AIDS from someone else, you know?
Well, firstly, HIV and AIDS are two different things. HIV is the virus that you contract, and that virus infects your immune cells and causes your immune system to get weakened. And this progresses into AIDS when you encounter opportunistic infections. So these infections, the way they work is, normally, if you were to encounter something that would cause this, it would be harmless to your body. But because your immune system is already so weak from the HIV, they can take advantage of this, and this can cause more damage to your immune system and progress into AIDS. So an example of one of these infections would be meningitis, so swelling in the brain. And the other point you made about contraction, the only way you can contract it is you contract the HIV virus, and this is through bodily fluids. You can't just get it from touch.
And how is this virus tested for?
Well, the way you would test for this virus is your doctor would take a sample of your blood and they would check to see if you have any antibodies, which are proteins your body makes that bind to viruses. You would check to see if you have any that would bind to a sample of HIV. And if they would, then you would be positive for the virus.
Well, now that we know about treatment and how to test for it, how does the virus work?
Well, the way it works is it has to get into your blood. So like I mentioned before, you would get it through bodily fluids such as blood, semen, breast milk. And then once into your blood, it would target many cells, but its main target would be the CD4 cells. And so the virus, HIV, has many proteins along its outside wall, and these proteins allow cell-to-cell communication. But these proteins also mutate very frequently, which makes it very hard for the CD4 cells to recognize if this is an HIV virus or just a normal cell. And this gives the HIV a chance to fuse with the normal cells, and it allows it to inject all of its viral information and genetic information, such as DNA, into the healthy T4 cells. And then when the T4 cells make more copies of themselves, they also end up making more copies of the virus.
Okay, well, thank you both for coming today, and thank you guys for listening. See you next week.